We will start with the basics and then we'll go to some questions after that. I think we should get started now, I reckon.
Okay. So some of you have already submitted some questions pre-webinar, so thank you so much for sending those through. So we'll be firing those to Arran first, and then we can jump into questions in the Q&A box. Before we start on the questions, just a really quick introduction to who we are. My name's Mahafrin Variava. I am an associate here at McVeagh Fleming, and answering the Q&A today and responding to all your questions will be Arran Hunt, immigration team partner here at McVeagh Fleming, who I know you all are quite familiar with. The Parent Boost Visa is a very exciting new development. I know a lot of you are very interested to know about it. The policy was released on it very recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, Arran, but I believe that the visa applications for this open on the 29th of September.
That's correct, yeah.
So we're about 24 days away from the category opening. And I'm sure we'll all agree, especially those of us practicing in the industry, that people have been waiting for something like this for a while, especially if they're eligible to be able to bring their parents and families to New Zealand for a longer term. So this is a very different type of visa, and I think unpacking this with those of you that want to know more was a good idea. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So we'll start with the first bunch of questions to ease in, and those will provide some context about this visa, and then we can jump into more specific questions that you'll all have in the Q&A box. So Arran, the first question is, tell us a little bit about the Parent Boost Visa.
Okay, good one to start with. Okay, so this is an idea that was raised by the minister back when she was, before she was a minister, she was back on the other side. It's also pushed forward by the other parties as well. It was sort of a very commonly held idea that it'd be great to have that migrants can have their parents here in the country with them, providing support with their grandkids, the knowledge that they're around. You know, it's nice to have the family around. So they want to have an idea to do that. Now, the biggest thing they've had in the past is the cost in regards to healthcare, is that the elderly in the country, what if they get sick? What if they need treatment? How does the country cover that, but still allow to have people have their parents here with them? So here, the Parent Boost Visitor Visa. So the basic idea is that you have a chance to come to New Zealand for a 5-year period. That's with disclaimers. There is sort of some gaps here and there we're going to cover. And then the second 5-year period, so basically 10 years all up, you can come to New Zealand and live here with your family. Now the requirements, of course, are that you have a way to cover your costs, which either be you have an income yourself through shares investments, you have funds yourself, or your sponsoring child or children have enough income to cover your costs. You also need to have that insurance while you're on shore to cover those health costs. So that then basically gives the government peace of mind that yes, if they're in New Zealand and they're feeling unwell, they get sick, they're being covered in some way by somebody else and not the New Zealand taxpayer. Quick, a few other things that were interesting. This is a whole new visa. So we're talking a lot of things here that's theoretical, based on our deep experience of immigration, but there's some things here which are new, a different approach to visas. First thing is that the application must be made while offshore, similar to the parent-grandparent visitor visa, but can only be granted while you're offshore. So you can't be sort of in New Zealand and hope for this visa. You probably can be here in between the application and the being granted. That's not actually excluded, but you have to be offshore when they make the decision. Now, the reason for this is that we think that if they were to find that you had health issues that might cost the country, they want you out of the country before they say, no, you can't re-enter. So I think that's one of the big issues here with that, and that's why they have the out of the country thing. After 3 years, you have to exit the country and get another medical done while offshore. It'll take about 3 months to process. So to be out of the country for a period of about 3 months. And then before you apply for the next one, again, outside the country for another 3 months. So you have to be out of the country a few times, but otherwise you can be in the country for a 10-year period in total under this visa. That's the basics, yeah.
Cool. So one of the other questions we had was, you've got the parent-grandparent visa, which is a 3-year multiple entry. You've got the Parent Boost visa, which has at the 3-year limit, you've got that compliance check where you've got to go overseas. So how's that any different?
So parent-grandparent, you have a maximum of a year and a half in that 3-year period. So it's done in 6-month blocks, the maximum of 6 months. So typically people get the parent-grandparent, they'll do 6 months, go to Fiji or Australia for a couple of days, back in again 6 months, out and in again 6 months, a year and a half in the country. They then have a year and a half outside the country. So you have to have another year and a half, so basically at least half that 3-year period outside New Zealand. You cannot get another visa under parent-grandparent during that period. So you're going to have half the time here, half the time offshore. The parent boost allows you to have pretty much almost 5 years onshore and then 5 years again onshore, just with those a few short 3-month breaks in between. So it gives you that lot more time in the country rather than the ins and the outs. So the idea is that you are living here, not actually sort of living half here and half somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. So another question that someone asked was about the insurance requirements. So with the insurance requirements, immigration has set this requirement that there must be, insurance companies must have an A rating. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so all of these companies, insurance companies, finance companies, they all have these ratings. Standard & Poor's are probably the most famous of the rating systems, and you'll often see things like AAA or AA minus. There's lots of A ratings that sort of they go through. So immigration want to have a company which is seen as being relatively stable, not a fly-by-night, not a newcomer, not one that's going to have issues financially going forward. So they're requiring an A rating. Now, A is actually surprisingly quite low for most of these companies. They're looking at like AAA ratings, AA ratings. A is reasonably low. I think most of these companies will have an A rating. If they don't, then there's going to be a concern about them. So the idea is that you go for a company that has an A rating, also has to be known for doing either insurance, travel insurance or health insurance. It can't be a company that's trying this new area of business. Can't be, like say, a bank now starting up their own insurance brand. Has to be a well-known or at least an established insurance or health insurance, travel insurance company to actually provide this offering. So you're looking for an established company with an A rating to provide you that insurance.
Okay. A question about police clearances and medicals. If an applicant has previously held a visa for which they needed to provide police clearances and medicals, will they be required to do these again?
Maybe. So police certificates will last 2 years from when they were originally obtained, as long as they've been provided with a previous application and that application was successful and was processed. So same 2-year period you typically have with police certificates with most other applications. Medicals are slightly different here. So typically with medicals, you either had, well, you've always had the 3 years of medicals that you provide a medical, and within 3 years you can use it again on a future application. Here it's just 12 months. So instead of being a 3-year period, you have a 12-month period. So you apply for a parent-grandparent, you get that, then apply for parent boost like 8 months later. That medical can still count if that parent-grandparent was processed and granted. The reason for that is they want to catch out any possible new medical issues. So nothing that's may have developed 2 years ago. They want to sort of cover it in there. So yeah, so 2 years police certificate, 1 year for medical. Now, we had a session with immigration yesterday, I think it was, or Wednesday. And they were encouraging people to apply for the visa and then get the medical. Now, we can't see why you would do that. The medical lasts for 3 months before you actually do the application. So our clients were sort of saying to them, you get the medical and do the application. Why they'll do it after the application, we're not quite sure, but that was what immigration is putting out there. So if you do see that, we're not sure why they're pushing that angle, but that is possibly why.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because the visa application fee alone is actually quite significant. So it would be good to understand a little bit more. And you never know, we might actually end up asking this question. I don't know, is someone on?
So I think that's my phone ringing, but I can't see how to hang up. So it will go away in a sec. Sorry, there we go, it's finished now.
Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, as I was saying, it's quite an interesting approach to provide medicals later, because you're paying, sort of an arm and a leg for the application. It's actually a very significant fee. And speaking of fees, could you give us a bit of an indication of what people are going to be looking at in terms of costs for this visa application from immigration?
Actually, what is the fee? I don't have that on there. Is it 3,000 something? I did see that somewhere. I actually haven't remembered that one.
That's okay. That's okay. I could probably do a quick search and.
But completely agree the fact that, yeah, if you're going to be applying for, they haven't given their fixed, oh, here we go, okay, $3,000 for most applicants, I was correct there, 3,000. 2450 for Pacific Band. So if you're from the Pacific, there's a bunch of countries, Samoa, Tonga, Niue, that pay a lower fee. So it's 2450 for them, or 3,000 for most other applicants. And that fee is for the person and a partner if there's two of them coming in. And I completely agree, Mahafrin, great point there. If you're going to go for a $3,000 application, engage us to help you out with it. Better to get the medical done, I think, earlier on and find out if there's any health issues there before you go and apply, and then, fingers crossed, we're okay. It's thousands of dollars you could be wasting if there was a health issue, which you can go, hey, Arran, we've done this test and I have, this condition, what should we do? We can go to, well, actually, that's going to cause an issue. Let's not apply right now. Let's look at this issue first and save yourself a lot of money. So I can't see why you would wait until after to do the medical. Get it done, get it checked, and make sure that when you are applying, we can reassure you that things look good rather than hoping.
We'll just pause for a second. Arran, I'm not sure if everyone can see you, but I can't seem to see you on my screen. Is your camera on?
Yeah, I can see it on my screen.
Okay, so it might just be. It might just be.
Turn it off and on again. Let's just see.
Yes, because I can see your photo now. Sorry, everyone. I just want to make sure. There we go. There's Arran now.
There we go.
Yeah. Awesome. We're now getting a bunch of questions coming in through our Q&A inbox, to our Q&A box. The Q&A box is open, so feel free to keep asking them. So Arran, I'm going to jump in and start asking a bunch of questions from the Q&A box, and we've already got a few. Hi, Claudia. How are you? So Claudia's put in 2 questions. So the first is, hi, guys. You must be able to prove that you genuinely only want to visit your families, but if you are also in the ballot waiting to be picked for a residency, isn't that contradictory?
No, I can understand why you'd think that. And it is something that people have asked that question before. You can be both. So you can be coming to New Zealand with the expectation that you will go home at the end, and you're bona fide, you've got the home ties, but you can also have the hope to stay here. We have all the time when we're doing applications for partners who are separated, haven't lived together. We'll do a GVV, get them on shore, with the knowledge that they're going to apply for partnership once they get here with the hoping of staying. And we're honest about that. Immigration will say, look, they're applying for this. They have the reasons to go home if they don't get the visa, but they want to stay if they can. And same thing with this application here. We'll show to them, look, we have the home ties back home. They have reasons to go home at the end, but they do want to stay if they can through residence. So you can have both situations. We haven't seen yet as to how they're going to put that level for that home ties requirements. How much they want to see for you to go home. Well, because if you're coming here with a general visitor visa for a 3-month holiday, then you could show employment. You could show more ties to home. Come for 5 years, you're not going to sort of hold a job or an apartment for that period of time. So they can't expect a higher threshold for home ties, bona fides, as you'd have with a visitor visa, a general visitor visa. So we're going to see where that level lies, but you definitely can apply for this and apply for residence and be bona fide and genuine about both applications, despite them showing slightly different end goal intentions.
And just working off the back of that, I think immigration sort of said, hasn't it, Arran? They've said this is not a permanent visa. Please know that it's not a permanent visa. And that's actually one of the reasons why they've put that 3-year compliance check-in, because it's one of their ways of saying, hey, just remember, we still require you to go back 3 years later, still make sure you meet those health requirements, and you can come back into the country and finish off the other 2. And that's why they cap it at sort of 5, and then you apply again.
It's a great point, because if you can't go offshore for 3 months, at 3 years, then generally you are living here, and that's not the point of the visa. So you have to show that ability to go offshore for a period of months and survive on your own effectively.
Yeah. All right. Follow-up question from Claudia again. So can an applicant get her medicals done before leaving the country to apply outside of the country to speed up the process? I think we somewhat answered this earlier, but I think we'll clarify it.
Yeah. The requirement is to apply from offshore, and the requirement is to be offshore when the visa is granted. But there's no requirement to get the first medical done onshore, isn't there? Yet the second medical, the one at the 3-year period, must be offshore. The initial one, I don't believe that's required. So you could be a New Zealand parent, grandparent, do the medical here, leave the country, do the application, re-enter the country, wait out the process, leave the country for the visa to get granted, and then back in the country again. And then leave it 3 years and get the medical done offshore at that point. I don't believe there's a requirement for the first medical before you apply to be done onshore.
Charlene, hi. Is there a list of medical issues that they can decline you on?
There isn't in regards to temporary entry. There is for residents. But they'll come down to, the exact wording they use, it comes down to they're looking for things that are likely to cause a big cost to the country. So there's A415. So looking for things which, physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, autism spectrum, and brain injuries. Those are the four sort of, those are the underage ones. Sorry, the adult ones, hospitalisation, residential care, high-cost pharmaceuticals, high-cost disability services. So those are the four things which they're going to say, okay, are you likely to require hospitalisation, residential care? Will you require high-cost pharmaceuticals? That sort of thing. Now, if you're going to have insurance, which you'd think would say, okay, well, the insurance covers that, but the insurance is only required to be in place for 1 year when you make the application. So their concern is that you're going to come to New Zealand with the insurance for 1 year, wait it out, and then once the insurance runs out, when the 1 year comes up, it's then sitting on the New Zealand taxpayer. So they want you to have the insurance, but also not to have any of these four likelihoods. They're going to cost the country money. So there's no sort of a list of conditions, but there is that list of four things they're sort of looking at. Will your health cost New Zealand because of one of those four things? Typically when we have a client who has a health condition, we'll go, okay, is the medication generic? What's the cost of the medication? If it's generic, we can buy it as a country relatively cheaply, not an issue. But if you have a condition that requires $10,000 a month treatment, that's an issue. You're not going to get a visa. So that's sort of, that's what they're looking for.
Thank you. Michael's asked a question. Hi, Michael, how are you? Could high blood pressure be a problem with the health check?
On its own, probably not, but it's usually an indication of something else. And that itself also has medication that you can take to help bring the blood pressure down, lifestyle changes, that sort of thing. So if you have high blood pressure and you also had high, was it H1BAC, the diabetes figures, that could be an issue. So you'll sort of see that with something else tied together. There's typically a cause for high blood pressure. If it's just high blood pressure on its own, probably not, unless a doctor thinks that could cause a further issue, heart issues, that sort of thing. If immigration, so when you do the medical, it goes to the medical assessor and a doctor who works for INZ. He'll look at it and go, okay, we require more tests. That's probably what's going to happen in that situation. We require more tests. We want to see the HbA1c done. They want to see all these various other tests done to see whether there's a bigger risk factor. So that's the process. Okay.
Thank you. Also have a follow-up question from Michael. Well, we got two follow-ups, sorry. A few. Great. We can answer these, I'm sure. So apart from the income requirement, do we need to provide additionals, such as we own a house? Do we have to provide, evidence to show that we'll be supporting our parents with accommodation?
No, I think that's the expectation, that you're making the application. When you sponsor the parent, you are guaranteeing them, you are agreeing to pay for their costs. And if Immigration New Zealand have to deport them, you're paying for that cost as well. So the expectation is that by sponsoring them, well, that's the wording of the form says, by sponsoring them, you are taking on that obligation. So if they don't have a house to live in and they're on the streets and Immigration find out, then that cost is on you. So there shouldn't be a need to provide evidence of you have a house, because there's obviously you live somewhere. It will be more so that you are signing a form to say, yes, we'll take care of them, we'll look after their costs, we'll house them, we'll feed them, we'll cover all those obligations. And if not, the cost will be on you.
And how much median wage per year? 69,000 for this year only, or is it in the last 3 years?
It needs to be 2 of the last 3 years, and it's done on the financial years, not like with the parent resident where it's done on when you make the app or when you get drawn from the pool. It's done on the last financial years. So 1 April to 31 of March. If 2 of those last 3 financial years you have met the median level requirements, or more than that if there's two sponsors or just two people supported, then you met that requirement.
And if it's joint income, then do we need proof of relationship, like how long we've been living together, etc.?
Yes. So sponsors need to show at least the 12 months living together to be a sponsor. So you'll have one of the children of one of the parents being the principal sponsor, then you'll have their partner included in that, and they have to show 12 months of living together. Where the parent being sponsored and their partner don't, which is unusual. But the sponsors have to show that 12 months of time together. Yeah.
Cool. I could probably answer this one. Do they need to provide police clearances so they can prepare to speed up the process? I suppose I think going back to what Arran says, I guess it depends on whether they've been provided previously and whether they're still valid with this application. If this is a brand new application, your parents have never come to visit New Zealand, then yes, they're going to have to get these organized and done in advance of submitting their application. If, however, they've been done with the previous visa application, then what you want to check is whether they were done within 2 years of submitting your parent boost visitor visa application.
Yeah. And if you're looking at a new PCC, you have got 6 months to provide it with an application when you get it. So the date on the certificate itself. So if you're looking at applying into this month, then definitely get one sorted out now. So then you have plenty of time to make the application.
Maximum 10 years. Can I reapply after 10 years?
Currently, no. But 10 years is a long time in politics. So they may find that we'll do 10 years and actually, no, everything's going fine, do more time. And they may allow more than that. The original discussion that I had with the minister about this years ago, they weren't really looking at a limit. There was a discussion that, yeah, you'll have a 5-year one and then you can apply again. But I think my mindset was you can apply again and again and again until, you finally get told no or find another way to residency. They decided to go with 5+5, so 2 visas, but no reason why they couldn't do more than that once we get to that point. We are still 10 years away from that point ever occurring, so we could see a change to that at some point.
Cool. Now, this is a follow-up question that we've had from several people, including Michael, who has put this as one of his questions on the list, is, are there any approved insurance providers that we can reach out to kickstart this process? Is there a list of companies, or do we have a list of companies that provide the medical insurance for New Zealand? So what's our response to that?
We know of 2 so far. If you look at Orbit, Orbit Protect. Now that's part of NIB, the big insurance company. So Orbit Protect, the website now even has actually on there the Parent Boost Visitor Visa webpage on there. So you can go there, check that out. So they've gone live with it already. I checked the other day. The other one is Unimed, who have told immigration they're bringing out a product as well. They're not showing, as of yesterday, they weren't showing a Parent Boost Visitor Visa webpage yet for that particular category, but they are planning on bringing one out in time for the applications to go. But for now, definitely Orbit Protect have a live page for this visa type.
For those of you that have asked this question, if you look in the question and answer box, I've put a link to the website for you. Cool. All right. Now, if we've had a successful treated case of hepatitis B, is that going to be an issue?
If it's not active, then no, it shouldn't be. Hep B can sit inactive for life. So immigration generally, if it's not active, it should be okay. If it's active, then that's an issue. It has to be treated. But if it's been treated already, it's no longer active, then that shouldn't be an issue. No.
Thank you. This is a very interesting one, and I think one worth unpacking a little bit. So Varun says, hi Varun, I've taken a career break, so I'm not able to sponsor my parent. My mother does have a term deposit of 200,000. Will Immigration NZ accept a term deposit as available funds?
They can usually get broken for a fee, or you lose the interest, but they can get broken to get access to them. If that's the case, then yes, they should, because it is funds that she can quite easily get access to. So yes.
Cool. Now, this is if another question we've had is, if I have just got my resident visa and I'm earning the median wage, will I be able to sponsor?
You can for 3 months. Residence visas have a holdover from the pandemic days, where the first 3 months you have a Section 49 condition on the visas. You're not aware of it, and people get caught up by this all the time. But in that 3-month period, you're required to comply with Health New Zealand. And for these few other things, there's like 3 things on the list. And this lasts for 3 months after the visa has been granted. That is still in place, and that's a requirement that you cannot sponsor a visa while you're under that Section 49 condition. So if you are got a residency through work, so which residence, straight residence, SMC, for 3 months, no, you can't. Now, if you are applying through SMC and you've got a 6-month condition to show your employment, so you've just a new job, then you can't from that 6-month period because you've got a condition on your visa. Same with if you're getting residency through an investment visa, then you've got a multiple year condition on your visa, and you cannot sponsor your parents in that period. So for most of you, within 3 months, after 3 months, you can, but for some of you, it might be a longer wait.
Cool. Now, there was something that I wanted to talk about, and I can already see that questions about it have been asked, and I think we could just touch on it a little bit more before we go ahead and answer any more questions, and that's the consideration of bona fides. So I know you've briefly touched on it, but I think a lot of people have this question because they're sort of tossing between 3 visa options at the moment. They've got this longer term 5-year parent boost visa, which allows a long-term 5-year stay. We've got the parent grandparent, which allows this 3-year multiple entry. But then also there's a general visitor visa. Now, there are going to be people that just don't meet the sponsorship or income requirements for the parent boost. There are going to be people that just can't meet that insurance threshold. But can we really just, can you maybe talk to a couple of points about the bona fides, and in particular, like how are the bona fides assessed across the 3 categories? I know that you briefly mentioned, Arran, that we're still yet to see what's going to happen with the parent boost. And, you know, I think as lawyers, we've been thinking that maybe if it's such a long-term visa, then they might look at it quite closely and quite strictly. But then also, does it actually make sense? Because it's almost like we're granting you a 5-year visa. How are you able to demonstrate too many incentives to return home? Because, you know, it's quite a long time that you're actually going to be away from home. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
And I think that's a very good point. When you're going through for a GVV, so we'll start with the short one. So the GVV, they're looking for some strong reasons you're going to go home. They don't want you to stay here unlawfully. And it could be things like I have an apartment, or I have a house, or I have family there who I need to be there to look after, or I have a job, things like that. So these are all good reasons to bona fides, their home ties, to send you back home again. Now, with parent, grandparent, it's a little bit less of a threshold because there's an expectation that you're coming here for 6 months at a time and for a longer period of time, and it'd be harder to maintain a job during that period. So they still require home ties. You can't just have nothing back home and come to New Zealand. They still require something for parent, grandparent, but it's a little bit less than would require for a GVV. But when you're going for parent boost, again, we haven't seen it yet what they're going to require, but the expectation is there'll be less again, that they're going to not expect you to have that ongoing employment because you're home for 5 years. Who's going to employ you and give you a 5-year holiday? They're going to be, or have a rental that you're renting out for 5 years, not using it. Would make sense. It would seem a little bit fake to have that as evidence. So I think they're going to expect a bit less. And all visas that are temporary entry, so even if it's not a resident visa, has a home ties category. So even for partnership applications, partnership work visa, there's still also there a reason to show some level of home ties, just a very, very small amount. So it's not across the board the same. I think we're going to see parent boost being closer to partner, still showing some reasons to go back, whether it's if it's life, you know, you've got family there still, or you've got a house there or land there or investments there, something to go back to. But it won't be the point that we have with general visitor visa or parent grandparent visa, where they have a lot higher requirements.
I also think that one of the things that we often need to talk about and we need to highlight is the fact that Immigration New Zealand does need to view every application in the context of what's received in front of it. When you're looking at applications for parent, grandparent, and parent, not every parent's going to be working. Not every parent has an income. Some parents are being supported by their children financially. Some parents are just homemakers, and some parents have retired. So there are several moving parts here, and I think that Immigration New Zealand is realistic about the fact that they are receiving visa applications from parents. In certain parts of the world, say, wives are just the homemakers. They don't work. They might not have bank accounts of their own. They're often relying on their husbands, or and if they're widowed, then they might just be relying on any assets they have left or the support of their children that they're living with. It could be anything. It's really just about how well you're able to demonstrate that your parents meet those requirements. And in situations like this where it might be a little complex, you've always got professionals to seek advice from.
Yeah, and it's a good point. And we often have to basically remind immigration that not everywhere is New Zealand, that different countries have different things. New Zealand has very much gone the way of both parents have a job. Other countries still have the more traditional approach of the mother is at home with the kids and the father goes out to work. And if that mother is now the one who the father's passed away, they're going to question as to, well, where's the work? And say, well, Immigration New Zealand, this is not New Zealand. This is look at culturally in that context of where they've come from. And we have to remind them of that, and sort of not to sort of apply that Western Eurocentric view onto the world. And that's part of what we often have to do.
Yeah. A question we've had is, do previous declines have an impact, or will they have an impact on a future application, especially if the declines were related to bona fides or only due to bona fides?
No.
Okay.
A lot of declines get done because of bona fides. People make applications, they don't actually know what immigration's after, because immigration is not always that clear as to what they're after. It's often you're sort of guessing as to what they want. So no, previous declines, what people come to us and they have like 3 or 4 declines, and we'll sort of help them out and get that acceptance, because immigration can't hold it against you because you've been declined before for bona fide reasons. If you got declined because you misled immigration, that's a different thing. But if it's just sort of like bona fides, it was almost every situation was that you didn't realize what you had to provide because you're not immigration experts. So no, they should look at it as a brand new application and not look back and go, well, you've been declined before. It's irrelevant. Shouldn't matter.
Correct. Does INZ accept tax returns as proof of income? I earn a shareholder's salary, so I can't provide payslips.
Yes, it should. And they've said that when it comes to, they see you as being self-employed with a shareholder salary. So they're looking at what have you declared to IRD, what tax have you paid to IRD for that income. That's what they're after. That is the main evidence they're after, is that IRD statement, the MyIR, showing those what you've paid every month for the last so many years. So yes, that would be fine.
Cool. If my job contract is just for 9 months, but with the median wage, am I able to be a sponsor?
Ooh, good question.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought about that. I would say yes. There is no requirement for it to be for a certain set period. Like the obligation for you is a 5-year obligation that you'll look after them. It's not a 5-year obligation you will get paid that amount of money. You could actually be looking to retire in 6 months, getting the visas. You have met the requirement of having 2 of the past 3 years, and at the time of your application you're earning that income. You could then retire, and that's fine. It's not a requirement to keep earning. So yes, that shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Shiva's asked a question. Any idea about the health insurance that covers the requirements for Parent Boost? Yes, Shiva. We've put the link to one of them in our Q&A box, but it's the Orbit Protect travel insurance. And Arran, the other one was NIB, wasn't it?
No. So Orbit Protect is NIB. The other one's Unimed.
Unimed.
Yeah, they're not showing online yet, but that's immigration have told us that that's they're looking at doing one as well.
Cool.
And we'll have more, I think, by the 29th. More will come out with new plans.
Excellent. In terms of financial requirements, can wages and salary be counted as candidates' personal income? My parents are currently working full-time until further notice. For sufficient personal funds, can investments be counted, like stock market investments?
So for the first question there, no, the wages can't be counted because it has to be ongoing income. So the idea is that they come to New Zealand and they'll have that funds coming in still. If they leave their job because they can't work for New Zealand in that job, they'll lose that income. So no, they can't count that. It has to be basically passive income from investments, that sort of thing. Now, what's the second question? Was investments around the stock market income? share market, or was the?
For sufficient personal funds, can investments be counted like stock market investments?
Yes, if they're easy to liquidate. So those would probably be shares held in big companies would have a then valid price for those shares. Know what they can be sold for. Calculate that amount, transfer it across. So yes, it's things which should be easy to liquidate. Should count. So my current view is yes, that should fit in with the requirements. Yeah.
Cool. I can take this one. Can parent boost visas be, if declined, be appealed by the children, as it involves a huge amount? So the answer is no. There's no appeal process, I believe, when it's an offshore application. And that applies to all offshore temporary applications. That said, depending on the decision, there are ways to look into the complaints and feedback process, but the complaints and feedback process is actually quite limited, and you have to tread with it quite carefully. Because if, for example, you complain about the merits of the decision, then that in itself, immigration won't accept as a good ground for a complaint. So what normally happens in a situation like this is where we feel a decision might be grossly unfair, despite providing, say, heaps and heaps of documents and support, and in your view, you figure that you believe that your parents might meet the requirements of that visa, then what we would normally say is maybe requesting a copy of the file, actually seeing if all the information was considered, talking to someone to see if there are actually good grounds for a complaint, and filing a complaint. In the past, when we've filed complaints, we have been successful. What can sometimes happen is Immigration New Zealand can actually revisit the way the decision was issued and consider reassessing the visa application and issuing a visa if they believe that an incorrect decision was issued. Okay, we're having a few people typing further questions. So while those questions keep coming in, can you do a bit of a breakdown for us, Arran, of the health insurance requirements? So what must the health insurance cover?
I can indeed. I should have in front of me. Okay, so all emergency cover, all emergency care, including diagnosis, treatment, ambulance, hospital care, up to $250,000 per annum, so $250,000. Cancer coverage up to $100,000, including diagnosis, treatment, ambulance, hospital. Repatriation in the event of serious illness. So basically, if you get seriously ill or disabled, the cost to take you back to your home country up to $250,000, and return of your remains if you sadly do pass away, $50,000 to cover the return of your remains to your country of origin. Now, I have heard one thing in that a lot of the Indian based travel insurance, health insurance, doesn't give the $100,000 requirement for cancer. They give a small amount to like $20,000 requirement, and that will make them ineligible for the system. So we'll hopefully see some Indian providers start providing this option for a larger amount. But I'm reading today, someone was commenting that the Indian ones, a lot of them aren't providing that $100,000 cancer cover, which will sort of keep them out. So you need to meet these four requirements: $250,000 for emergency, $100,000 for cancer, $250,000 for repatriation, $50,000 for return of remains. Those are the minimum standards for it.
We've had questions come through recently through our inquiries channels about, parents that have previously had treatment for long-term diseases, or for that matter, are currently on some type of medication. Often in situations like this as well, our advice is that, because look, this visa has two facets to it. The first is that you have to meet Immigration New Zealand's internal health requirements and meet their policy, but there's also the insurance company that actually has to be able to provide you cover. So where you might be a little unsure about if your parents have had any pre-existing conditions, or whether there might be any issues with health, or if they're on any type of medication that you just want to make sure meets the criteria, because the cost of this visa is it is an expensive visa. The premiums are going to be high if insurance does cover. So often we say, just in the first instance, actually confirm what their current health status actually is. What is their short-term, long-term prognosis? What is the value of the medication they take? Do they require any ongoing treatment monitoring? Normally in a situation like this, we'll ask you to get an updated or current report from your parent's specialist, which actually gives us an overall view about their current health condition for us to be able to advise you about the likelihoods of success or the likelihood of being able to secure a visa like the parent boost, or whether there will be issues in meeting those health requirements. And of course, it goes without saying that they still need insurance cover. Arran and I were just talking about just talking recently about how we think insurance might view pre-existing conditions. Arran, what were your thoughts on that? How do you think that they might view that?
So it will come down to probably the same way that immigration does it. What is the likelihood of there being a big cost going forward? Now, for immigration, they're going to go, it's going to cost New Zealand money. We'll say no if there's a reasonable chance there. The insurer might take a different approach. They might say, well, there's a reasonable chance there, we'll just charge more for the insurance. So I think it's going to be, if it's a really high risk and of it being a high cost in insurance, they're going to say no. But if they're going to go, okay, there's a bit of a chance here, but we're going to, we'll run the risk, they'll just put a high premium on it. So you could see some treatments which you'll have some risk there the insurer will cover. Immigration might say no. You have to convince both the insurer and the immigration that you're not a risk there, but the insurer may just charge you more for that risk.
Right. Okay.
Now, just one thing there. Sorry, yes. I should correct myself. Earlier, I mentioned about shares being held and being used for the maintenance funds. I've checked the rules, and no, they can't be. The requirement is funds held in a New Zealand bank account or funds held in an overseas bank account, together with evidence that the funds can be accessed from New Zealand. So term deposit, I would say that should be okay because that is funds held in a bank account. But shares, I don't know why they're not included, but the wording they've done under V425(1), maintenance funds, it doesn't allow for the use of shares or other assets. It has to be funds in a bank account.
Okay. Claudia asked a question. You mentioned one can apply offshore and then return and then leave before the visa is granted. If they haven't left the country on time and are still onshore when the decision is made, would INZ give the applicant an option to respond why they should grant them?
We're going to have to see how they handle this. What they do is, this is one where they have an AIP, approval in principle. So when they get to the point, when we make the application, you don't provide the insurance until the very end. So you make the application, you do all that sort of stuff, you apply from offshore, you can enter the country. When you get to the very end, they've done everything else, they're going to say, okay, approval in principle has been granted, we're going to approve your principle and say yes, as long as you provide your insurance. Now, they may also say, we're sort of guessing here, hypothetically thinking about things, they may also say, also leave the country. That could be one of the requirements. Or they may just say, we cannot give you approval in principle till you're offshore. We are sort of right now, it's not clear in the rules as to how they're going to handle that situation. The requirement is to be offshore when the visa is granted. But it'd be hard for them to say, sorry, you're looking great, we're going to grant it, but you're onshore. I just can't see how that's going to work. So we have to wait and see as to how they're handling it. Now, immigration's advice in a recent session we had with them was that people should apply and then remain offshore. But they also said that there wasn't a requirement to do so. So if you are in New Zealand, you have a right to be in New Zealand, you can leave, apply, re-enter, and then leave again for the decision. It's just we're sort of umming and ahhing as to how it's going to actually be handled by immigration, whether they're going to say to you, we're ready to go out the country. We're not quite sure right now.
Okay. I have been earning over the median wage for over 1.5 years. So what did you mention about 2 years out of 2 years? I think what he means there, Shreyas, do you mean 2 years out of 3 years?
Yeah, so that's what it means there. So when you're applying, if you're applying under the category of the annual income, which is what, V425, 15, you have to have met that median salary requirement for 2 of the last 3 financial years. So say we're applying September 29th, you're looking at 1 April to 31 March and 22 to 23, 23, 24, 24, 25. So those 3 financial years, 2 of those 3 you have to have been above the median for that 1 year period. So if you've been 1.5 years over, perhaps in 6 months' time you'll then meet the requirements to apply for this. Yeah, unless you're way over, you might be there already. But yeah, 2 of the last 3 financial years is what they're looking for.
Cool. how much do we charge if we're handling the parent boost on behalf of our clients?
So 2800, I think, plus GST. No GST, they're offshore. So 2800 plus office service charge, and then the $3,000 immigration fee.
And could the applicant leave the country to be offshore before the week is up, and therefore meet the requirement of being offshore when the decision is made? That's the question from Claudia.
Yeah, the parent-grandparent visitor visa has the same requirement that you're offshore when you apply. I had a client who was offshore, left the country. We applied about 3 hours before she landed in the country that evening. And immigration at first didn't notice, declined, we complained, turned it around, and they granted the visa because she was offshore when the application was submitted. 3 hours later, she arrived from the country on the same day, but immigration, we met the requirement. So yes, the wording saying that you have to be offshore when you apply, when I hit submit, if you're offshore, that requirement's met.
Oh, how much do you think INZ would take time to process this visa? I think I have that answer. It was 4 months, I believe, which is what we got for the processing time frame. I am
sort of guessing that we'll see. Sorry, Mahafrin. They will probably see the first few go through very, very quickly because there'll be no queue in place.
Yeah.
And then it will slow down to 4 months over a process of maybe a month or two. So I think if you're in there early, you could see it being a very quick process. I don't think immigration will sit there and wait just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
I think 4 months is basically the long-term goal. It's 4 months.
And do I understand this correctly, Arran? But it's on Adept, isn't it?
Yes. It's on Adept. It's on the same system you have with parent-grandparent general visitor visa, AWV. Yeah.
So everyone, just a quick note on Adept, which is the system most people are now using, which is the new Immigration New Zealand application system. When the system was introduced, oh my goodness, were there glitches? But as time has gone on, it's starting to get smoother and easier to navigate. And I guess where I'm going with this is one of the things that might contribute to the processing timeframes is how automated the system actually is. So compared to the older system, this system has a bit of some of the work that takes place in the background is quite automated before a case officer actually enters the process and starts assessing some of the finer detail. So it could very well be that, like Arran said, the first couple of applications will actually speed through, and some of the automation and the type of system that's being used to submit this application will actually help the processing timeframes of this application. Another question we're getting is, will there be any national security check requirements for parents living in Pakistan and India?
Ooh.
I feel like there might be there might be, but this is an interesting one because we've had it. I mean, I'm just trying to think back to some of our temporary visa applications for countries where
I've had NSC for work visas before. It's with NSC, and NSC is basically, it's outside immigration's hands. That's handled by the Government Security Bureau, and it's literally, the term top secret. It literally is a secret, a government secret. We cannot get the list of what the requirements are and who triggers an NSC. We can sort of guess from just no experience, but the actual list of what triggers NSC, literally secret. Immigration in New Zealand themselves don't know. The system tells them NSC is required. So I would say probably for some countries. I think Pakistan would trigger that. Nigeria would trigger that.
Iran would trigger that.
Iran would. Russia would. China might not. We're guessing here. It's going to come down to the intelligence people at Parliament. Immigration don't know, and we're going to find out as we go.
Yeah, it's one of those. You have to just try and test. Charlene, can you please send the link to where we can apply? Not yet, because we don't have one. It's literally just going to be straight off the Adept platform, though. So what that means is when you actually go onto Immigration New Zealand's website, when the visa application categories open up, they do usually give you kind of like a drop-down box and ask you to select the type of visa you want to apply for. Parent Boost will appear as an option there. That's what I think will happen. And when Parent Boost appears as an option, then you go and log into your Real Me, and then it'll start to populate the right application form for that visa type that you've selected. So there won't be a link as such, but you will get that drop-down option, and then you just follow the steps on immigration's website.
The other option is if you go to apply.immigration.gov.nz, that's the link to Adept. So apply.immigration.gov.nz. That's the link to the new website.
Cool. Just to confirm, can you apply before you have received the police clearance and done the medical and submit them afterwards?
The medical, yes, they're encouraging that. As I said before, we're not. The police certificate, the application will likely ask you to upload it. Immigration have in the past been nice and allow you to provide evidence that you've applied for it. We'd probably encourage our clients to get the police certificate done in advance as a precaution, because immigration may change their mind on that. Right now, if we make an application, we say, hey, immigration, here's the evidence, we've applied for it. They're very nice and allow it to go through. That could change at any point. So medical, definitely do it afterwards. Police certificate, possibly do it afterwards, but would encourage you to do it beforehand.
Yeah. I have taken a career break. So this is another follow-up question from Varun. I've taken a career break. I'm not working at the moment, but my last 2 years income is over 85,000. Can I sponsor my parent?
Yes, you can, but if you're looking at stopping your career break and going back to work, immigration wants to be able to see that you're going to be earning that threshold when you apply.
Can I ask if a birth certificate will be required to prove relationship with your parents? Yes, the answer is yes. That's how they'll know that you are related to the person you're sponsoring. What is Adept? Is it an app? No, it's not. It's I wouldn't call it an app. Would you, Arran? I'd say it's more like a platform.
Yes, it's a name they call the new platform.
Yeah.
The old one was the AMS, I think I always call it, and the new one's called Adept.
Yes.
And inept in other times, because it's not really good at times. But yeah, Adept is what they're calling the new platform. They bought it from Canada, from Microsoft, who made it for Canada, and yeah, it's been a long dilemma. But yeah, so Adept is the website that you use for general visitor visas, for student visas now, as of recently, for work visas, and for parent-grandparent visitor visas.
Do kids need to maintain the job throughout for 3 or 5 years? In case they lose their job, do they need to tell INZ of a change in circumstances?
They don't. It's a change of circumstance. I am trying to read actually the rules now to see where it states that they have to have the income when they make the application. There's definitely the requirement, must meet the income threshold. Oh yeah, no, you do. So you do. So yeah, sorry. So when you apply, you must meet the requirement, the income threshold. So sorry to Warren for the last question. Definitely have to have that income coming in. There is no requirement to maintain that income for the period. The requirement is to maintain the ability to sponsor the parents, because the obligation is on you. So no, if your income changes, no requirement I can see in the rules to notify immigration. Yeah.
Okay, Claudia, I see that you've asked for the website address for Adept. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly pop open my screen and take you all to Immigration New Zealand so you can see. So we're on Google right now. So there is no website address as such for Adept, but when you get onto Immigration New Zealand's, sorry.
Apply.immigration.gov.nz.
Oh, sorry. Apply.immigration.govt.nz. Oh, sorry. I think I've misspelled that. Give me a second, everybody.
I'm lazy. I can't go to the website. I just want to type it out.
So this is one way to get in. And while this loads, when you're on Immigration New Zealand's main website, you're going to click Login. And this is where it'll tell you if you want to start an application. And here is where the Parent Boost visa will appear after the 29th of September. So it'll give you that option. And when it gives you that option, you will select it. Now, in the interests of moving forward, I'm just going to select Visitor Visa. Which visitor visa are you applying for? So there it'll be in here. Much like the parent and grandparent, you'll be able to see the Parent Boost. But let's just say we select Parent Grandparent for now, and then it goes Login. And guess where you end up? Take you to Adept. in terms of median wage, oh, okay, in terms of median wage, I have been earning over the median wage, but from multiple sources of income for 2 years out of 3 years. Is it acceptable?
Yes, it is. They'll be looking for your IRD records to see that you've been paying tax for income of that amount. The sources aren't important. You can have 3 jobs, 5 jobs, 1 job, 10 jobs. That doesn't matter to them. They're looking for the income level. So your ISS table will show that income level. Yeah.
Cool. So we're coming close to the end of our webinar, but before we do, I think we'll just maybe wait 1 more minute. Has anyone got any final questions? Feel free to pop them into the Q&A box, and if we don't, then we'll close off at 5:30. While I'm waiting to hear from you all, here's where you can find us. So both of us have public profiles and are available through a quick Google search, but otherwise you can write to us at any time at visa@mvf.co.nz. And I'll repeat that again, that's visa@mvf.co.nz. In fact, we'll just pop it into the Q&A box as well. For any questions or any follow-up comments and feedback.
Those of you watching on TikTok, I will try and answer your questions tomorrow. I'll go through the comments and try and answer them all. There's a few coming through. I can't keep an eye on multiple screens. And yeah, so the question, there's an answer there from regarding our fees. So Mahafrin's now answering that question there.
There we go.
And if you are onshore, we have to charge GST, unfortunately. So there's a benefit to applying. Actually, although, no, sorry, you're applying from offshore, so that's okay. We'll just do the work offshore. So yeah, no GST on our work.
No GST. Isn't that fantastic, everybody? All right.
Big discount.
Yeah, yes. Okay, well, on this note, we just want to thank you all for giving us your time this Friday evening. If there's anything else you need, you know where to find us, but we'll be doing more of these sort of webinars towards the second half of this year. So just watch the space and continue to keep in touch with us.
Yes. Thanks
you all. Thanks again. Thank you.
See you next time.
See you next time. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.